Taking the convo to high levels. Comment, like, and subscribe if you're enjoying Durable Minds Radio.
No, this is what I wanted to touch on too. And I got another video to show y'all on this. And we gonna do a video breakdown, really. Because what we have here is an individual, this lady, sharing her story about being in the lifestyle. And about how somebody was owning her life. And how she had to escape, right? But she breaks it down. And when you hear it, we have to ask ourselves, was she really being owned? Or was she just an addict? Right? Was she really being owned? Or was she just an addict? Because like I said, this lady right here, she comes in sharing her story about being in the lifestyle. And ones that are in the lifestyle, we can tell that, she's being realistic. But if you're listening with a square ear, then you won't understand really what's going on within that program she was in. You get what I'm saying? As for the dude that's interviewing her, I think he's too big on the square ear that he's really not understanding. And she's actually, talking, highly about the lifestyle, but she keeps catching herself, right? She keeps catching herself to where she's like, oh shit, I gotta make it seem like I'm a victim, right? So let's get into it. And if I pause it a little bit, it's just because I got something to say. It's a little 10-minute video. Let's get into it.
Okay, you're 22.
23, maybe 20, between 22 and 23.
Okay, you meet Money Mike. How do you meet Money Mike?
I had gotten a DUI in Texas. I went to Tarrant County Jail, which is in Fort Worth. I met this girl. We became like besties in county. There's a lot of like county jail stints throughout this like whole process that I'm skipping over, but it's like whatever. So I get a DUI. I go to county jail because I failed for meth. I cannot do probation. And
Okay. So listen, all he asks is, how did you meet this guy? Right? That's all he asks. How did you meet your pimp? The dude they trying to put on blast, right? She said, well, damn, she was getting out of jail, she was doing drugs. I don't think it's lies. What I'm saying is, it has nothing to do with choosing up yet, right? It's just telling her about how she's putting, her life is all messed up, basically, because of her self-actions.
I do a few months in there and I become friends with this girl. She's younger than me and we're like sisters and like we're going to be friends forever and all this stuff. And I get out and my relationship is coming to an end because I continue to do the same thing I'm doing. And he's like, hey, like, I'm not kicking you out on the streets, but like you have to find a solution other than like being here, He's like, it was sad. And
now this is not the pimp she's talking about. I don't know who this dude she's talking about. Some dude that when she got out of jail, because she went to jail because she was doing meth, some dude she was staying with was basically saying, look, you can't be staying here. No, maybe it's the shelter. I don't know. It was her and another girl. I don't know what it is. But basically, whoever this dude she's explaining in the beginning isn't the pimp dude.
I'm like twacked out, you know what I mean? Like all the time. I'm disappearing for days and getting the car stolen and you know what I mean? Just all kinds of chaos. And one day I end up like kind of like stuck in some like trap house and all my shit gets stolen and my ID and my password and like my phone and like the chaos that happens when you're out there and she had gotten out and I like hit her up on Facebook Messenger or something. And I'm like, hey,
okay, keep in mind, she's desperate, right? She's desperate because of her choices, right? She just said she keeps running away and high, and next thing you know, she waking up in trap rooms and shit like that, and she's desperate. This is what she's saying. She calls her friend.
Somebody who can come get me, and she like gives me this guy's number, and this guy who picks me up is with Money Mike. It's like him and another dude. I don't know them. I don't really know anything about him. I'm just trying to get out of the situation I'm in. And they pick me up and they bring me to his to this like project on Boca Raton Boulevard in Fort Worth. it was like his mom's house. Yeah, that's how I met him. I think he had just gotten out of prison.
Okay, and now this is your first time with a pimp?
Hold on, look at Brad. Does Brad look twacked out of his mind too, though? He look like he just hit the pookie. Look like they both just got high off that shit right before the podcast. Look at his face. He's so excited about this story. He like, okay, so this is where you met him at?
Yeah, that I'm aware of. There was pimps that would come into the clubs, but I was always like, stay the fuck away from those dudes. You know what I mean? So, there was girls who were like,
and then she got that lazy eye. You see her eye, it just keep giving out. But and then once she get that one strong, the other one give out. It just be giving out on her. But listen.
Bye.
Yeah. So how did your relationship with him blossom? Like, how did he kind of school you to the game? And
yeah, that's pretty much what it was. I mean, I was pretty down and out. I had been like relying on this relationship, and like I had worked as a dancer, but like I had never, worked like legitimately as a prostitute. I'd done some questionable things at the club, but like I had not worked as a sex worker. And he's fresh out of prison. He had done like federal time for pimping and pandering, which I didn't know at the time. But like, it was always like, there's a lot of manipulation involved, and I wasn't stupid.
You see how she catches herself? Because, okay, he's been to prison, right? But she's been to jail for drugs, right? So my thing is, it evens out, right? It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. You get what I'm saying? That's irrelevant. You know?
I had a general idea of what was going on. But also, like, I was kind of desperate, too. Like, no place to go, no money, like, no car, like. And so I'm like,
she's desperate. Look at that eye. Look, I told you that eye. I told you we caught it good, too. Look at her. God damn. But you hear her, she's saying she's desperate, right? And she's not saying, she tried to throw manipulation out there, but she couldn't even put it in a sentence. She couldn't even give an example of the gentleman manipulating her, right? The true thing is that she was desperate. She probably didn't have nothing to smoke no more, and she wanted to stay getting high. And she seen some structure within that. But she couldn't give an example of manipulation. She just has to say that word. You notice she just says the word. No example, just the word. No example, just the word.
All right, like maybe he can put me up on some game, And obviously he's like fresh out. He had like been like a whole ass pimp before going to prison. He like is like restarting from the ground up. He ain't got no bitches, like he ain't got no money, like, and so like he sees me and he's like, okay, this is perfect.
Look, grassroots. It seems like he's just being real to her. It seems like he was just being true to who he is to her, right? That's what it seems like to me. Showed him the family house. Look, this is how we living. Doesn't seem like no manipulation. Seems like more of understanding her situation, right? And letting her know that, okay, it ain't always peachy. Look, I done took some losses too, but that's why we're more, hopefully, like-minded. That's not manipulation. That's not manipulation right there. That's being truthful. That's being truthful. If anything, he might be the one getting manipulated because all she really wants to do is keep getting high. All she wants to do is keep getting high. So she's going to manipulate him, and to getting her structure to get some money. Like she said, picking up some game, right? Picking up some game. So now she can get her money and her high. You get what I'm saying?
And so like he's like selling me this dream, and in some ways I'm buying into it. In other ways I kind of know it's like some of it's like bullshit, because I'm not stupid, but I'm like, again, like fully dependent on getting high, you know what I mean? And I'm just willing.
Boom. You heard her. fully dependent on getting high. If I don't know why the podcaster dude don't stop her. Like, wait. And this conversation should have just pivot. This conversation should have just pivot. Sorry about that. This conversation should have just pivoted about her drug using. It doesn't even have to talk about the lifestyle.
To buy into whatever I need to buy into in order to keep this train going. And so, like, we start to, I start to hoe myself out, or he hoes me out, I guess, and we start to, like, make money pretty quickly, and we go from, like, being in the fucking projects to, having an apartment and a car, and, like, pretty quickly, and I had no experience, like, in this, like, I didn't know the game at all, like, I didn't know how to keep myself safe, I didn't know what to look for, I didn't know how to post, I didn't know, like, I didn't know the lingo, I didn't know, like, I didn't know
nothing. So what does this sound like? It sounds like you met an individual that gave you a sense of purpose in life, that gave you a sense of structure in life. It sounds to me she was going downhill and she had nobody else, she burnt all her bridges, and here comes a young gentleman that understands trial and error, that understands staying down to get it because, he's got his own experiences. And within that, he's able to teach her structure in life to where now maybe she's able to go on a podcast and be able to conduct herself better, right? As for she probably would never met that gentleman, who knows if she would be able to be on a podcast to showcase or to talk about her experience, right? You got to understand, you got to really look at these videos and hear what they're saying and understand that she just used manipulation but never gave a true sentence of or example of her being manipulated. What it sounds like is she's being helped in life. Let's go.
Anything about it, I was green, and that's kind of how it started.
Were you ever in any kind of situation where he had to come in and bail you out?
Yes. He was, like, always very close, either in, like, the hotel room next door or, like, outside. I was, like, being super strung out on drugs is actually, like, they don't like that. You know what I mean?
Boom. What'd she just say? Being super drugged out on drugs, they don't like that. They meaning the gentleman of the lifestyle, right? Meaning, obviously, the reason why, if anything, he was frustrated with her, it was because she was a user. She was a user. He wasn't happy she was a user. That's where the function came. That's where they start bumping heads came at. Because she was so big on using. Let's go.
Because you're not super reliable or responsible. So, like, one of the things that would happen is, like, I would fall asleep. Sometimes I would, like, pass out, like, at, like a trick's house. And, like...
Hold on. I don't know if y'all ever dealt with a female that does drugs, especially meth. After they be up for 4 or 5 days, they will just fall out for you be doing your thing and be calling for a whole 24 hours. You might pull up banging, boom, 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 boom. People don't want to make a scene, so he move around like, fuck it, hey. Hopefully, she wake up sooner or later. You call the hotel room, you try anything. Them drugs is nothing to play with, especially that meth.
Him and, like, 2 other bitches would be outside and, like, just, like, like, calling and texting. I would just be, like, knocked out after being up for 3 days. So there was stuff like that in the beginning. If anything fell off, like, I was, like, they were like, no, let's not do it. Because there was, at the time, it was, like, the heyday for that kind of shit. So, like, it was just, like, it was crazy. We were posting online, it was just, like, call after call after call. So, like, you might get 500 calls in 1 hour, and, like, only, a small amount of them would.
So once again, she gives another example of the dude she chose, or the dude that she, jumped into because she was doing so bad, was helping her. She just said she was falling asleep at Trick's house, and the gentleman that is so-called the pimp comes and helps her multiple times. She also says that they was getting a lot of calls, 500 calls, but they wasn't doing all 500. They was narrowing them down. She also said the folks and the girls wouldn't let her do certain dates because she knows she will fall asleep. Notice what she's really saying, y'all. Notice what she's really saying.
Because if anything felt out, it's not just me who's going to get in trouble. He'll be out of money, he'll be out of a bitch, but he also has a federal pimping and pandering charge. So he's really the one who's going to get in trouble. I'll probably get a fine. Yeah.
She understands the law. He made it clear to understand the law. She understands that. Let her finish. I'm trying to tell y'all, they will try to twist this up to make it sound good. They probably, the real ones, we can dissect this type of stuff and understand the true essence of it. But the square ears, they tripped out.
So how do you end up eventually breaking away from him?
Look, the question he asked is, how do you end up breaking away from him? You see how they try to control the narrative? Just when she was speaking highly, just keep going. How the structure is, how they don't want you to do drugs, how he came to her when she was drugged out, how the other girls looked out for her, how the police is really going to be looking for him to get the most time. You see how she was just knocking it, putting it all in perspective, and then he came and was like, well, okay, so how did you leave? How did you end up out of that situation? You get what I'm saying? Why he don't ask like, well, damn. Now he's supposed to be talking about, well, the gentleman sounds like a all right man. You was on drugs. He don't want you to use drugs. You was doing dates, falling asleep. He prevented that by narrowing down the dates you did. Nah, they gonna ask, so how did you get out of that situation? Let's hear how she got out the situation, right? Look, it looked like she making up some shit right now, though. Look at her, it looked like, damn, he asked a question. She like, shit, it really just deteriorated like all real lifestyles do. But she gonna look in her head right now thinking like, damn, how can I make it seem like I was a victim? How can I make it seem like I was the victim? That's what she thinking right now. Let's see what she think.
He used to say this thing, like, if it's not beneficial, it's artificial. That's what he would say. It was like, one of the fucking pimp terms or whatever. They have all these things they fucking say.
Pimp terms. All them things. You remembered it. She remembered that, these pimp terms. She remembered it till this day. You know what I'm saying? She got that locked in to this day. Notice she was using all the terminology. She still understands the terminologies and everything because it's a lifestyle. You can't retire knowledge. You can't quit knowledge. You know what I'm saying? You can see the light. When she talks about this lifestyle, you can just see her excitement of being a part of this lifestyle.
Say that. And it got to a point where it was not beneficial to me. There was like a bunch of girls. I was working the most, making the most money because I had gone from like brand new in the game, like not making much money to like making a lot of money. Like high-end escort type deal. Like I didn't need him anymore. I had regulars. I knew that I knew what I needed to do. Like I didn't need him anymore. I didn't need him. She could have just said that, right? I didn't need him. Right? That's cool. But anymore? What does that mean? You don't need him anymore. Anymore? Come on now. Like be on Backpage doing weird shit like that. It was a lot safer for me. He was drinking a lot. He would just like go out and drink with the bitches, and they would barely This sounds so insensitive. I'm just telling you what happened. It was like a crazy time. I just want to say it was a crazy time in my life, but.
Now, you notice what listen to what she's saying. Because this is the thing for the gentleman now. He started getting complacent. Notice it's nothing about owning. You see how the clickbait was about owning this? It ain't nothing. I haven't heard one bad thing yet. But he got complacent, right? And, he probably had a couple little brides. And, she was, doing her thing, high-end tricks and stuff. And he's still dealing with the other females doing his thing. And she sounding like she's getting a little jealous. She sounding like she's getting more a little in her square ways because pimping was doing too much pimping. It doesn't sound like, and like I said, this happens a lot in the lifestyle. Doesn't sound like he was trying to own her. Doesn't sound like he was trying to manipulate her. Doesn't sound like he was trying to coerce her. Any of that. I haven't heard any of that. But they framed this clip into that manner for some way, some reason. I don't know. Let's let her finish.
It was just the reality at the time. And I just was like, this doesn't make sense. So I started planning my escape and secretly stacking up money and had a secret account that another trick had opened up for me. And one night he left and I packed up everything and two of my regulars came with the U-Haul and I just took off in the middle of the night while he was out with a couple fresh turnouts. Yeah.
So boom, there it is. What is he doing? He the picture in the beginning says owned. How are you feeling owned when the pimping is out with other females and you're able to leave with 3 tricks? 1 trick. How are you owned and you're able to create a whole bank account from a trick? How are you owned and you're able to get 2 tricks to come move your stuff out of the spot with U-Hauls? How are you owned when you're able to become a trick truster? You get what I'm saying? When you have enough freedom to where you're able to talk to tricks and they can make you a secret account and you can dip off because he's outside pimping. I don't get where the own part came in yet. If y'all let me know if y'all heard anything about the pimping trying to own this female. Because I haven't heard it yet.
Had them plan your getaway.
Look at this fool. Look at this fool. He's so excited. Look at him. Why y'all think he's so excited like this? When I first seen this, I'm like, what's up with bruh? I know they talking about meth. I'm like, baby, and they just talking like meth is a cigarette. They talking like meth is a cigarette. Like, oh yeah, you had a little meth problem. That's nothing. Let's get into the pimp. Well, how did he own you? How did he do this? It's a little meth. That's nothing. That's normal. It's like, hold on, bruh. Why you ain't talking about the meth? Why you ain't talking about how he created structure for this female to be functional and be able to do her thing? He want a date. Let's see what he has. Hold on. Just look at his face, y'all. That's that energy drink, cocaine, bodybuilder, I ain't slept for weeks, Adderall, adrenaline, booster looking at.
Yeah.
You're a couple of your clients.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 of them, yeah. One helped with the money and the account. Another one got the U-Haul and helped me move everything. And then another one also helped me move everything and stored everything at his house.
This was a planned out escape.
Yeah, I was playing for...
So how are you owned if you're able to plan an escape with 3 tricks? The reason she just explained to us, the reason she left is because bruh was doing his pimping. He wasn't playing house with the young snow bunny. He was outside moving and grooving, and she didn't like that. She didn't like that. Hell, he's cool with the girls making less than you, and they still doing their thing. She didn't like that. What she already discussed was that she was doing bad in life, and that she called her friend, and her friend introduced her to the gentleman, because obviously the female friend knew that these gentlemen that she introduced to is going to give her some structure, is able to give her some stability, is able to give her some guidance. But they're leaving all that shit out. They're leaving. They putting it in. It's just the game got to take it out. You get what I'm saying? The game gotta cipher it out. You know.
Okay, and then where did you go from there?
I had a hotel room that I had already had like booked. He had my ID, my birth certificate, my license, like the
He held all your shit?
Yeah, that's what they do.
Oh, pimps hold your ID and shit?
It's not.
They hold you hostage.
A real pimp. Like, there's guys who want to call themselves a pimp, but like they really are just like on some, they have a boyfriend girlfriend situation, and like and they're probably an addict themselves. Like they know he was a real pimp. It was like there was like control. There was like.
Okay, here we go. Now it's getting juicy. So I want to ask the audience, right? I want to ask y'all. Look at her face again. She be having them facial expressions. Why do y'all think, if this is true, I don't know if it's true. Shit, she was always high. She probably didn't even know she had her ID on her own. Pimpin' Ben gave you your shit. You just keep losing it. I tell you, these meth heads, they will get high and take everything out their bags and then put everything back in their bags. And then take everything out their bags, and then look in this bag, and then look in that bag, and then take it all out of their bag. So Pimpin' probably already, So what I'm saying is, if he did, hold her belongings, why? If she was a crystal head, right? So maybe that's why. You get what I'm saying? Maybe that's why. Because he has to know that when you get high, you start putting shit everywhere. You feel me? And your high ass not even realizing that's the reason he's, your shit is probably in the house, in your room, in the closet somewhere, and it's just there. And he probably told you, and you don't remember because you're always high. So now you're thinking, oh my God, I'm mad because he's out doing his thing and he's not with me and he has my ID. And not even knowing you got your own ID. You get what I'm saying? If he out doing his thing, why would he want to patrol you like that? He knows you're a tweaker. He knows you geeking. You know what I'm saying? So he's like, you know what? She gonna lose her ID, so let me just go put it up. So when she need it, we know where to go get it. It's not just in her purse, because when she get high, she gonna be taking it out, putting it in, taking it out, putting it in, and taking it out. But let her finish. She also said, the real pimps and stuff. So she was trying to go with that, right? And let her finish.
There was like gaslighting, there was and like he wasn't violent to me or anything, but there was always the fear that he would be.
There's no violence. There was no violence to her, but there was a feel that she would be. There was no violence. And like I said, you're dealing with a drug female, so her head is tweaking 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Holding IDs is moving like a gorilla pee. I agree. You will want to deal with grown women that can hold their own IDs. Now, if you're dealing with, she gonna get high and she might lose it and it's a liability now, people might just put that shit up. That's called responsibilities. That's called leadership. And that's called structure. Get lurking, who's lurking? Who's lurking? Why? What's lurking? What's wrong with lurking? Talk to me. What's wrong with lurking, man? Not them people. Let's let this female finish. It's almost over. We got about 2 more minutes. We're almost over. We got 2 more minutes. But what I'm saying is this, y'all. She just let us know that there was no violence, right? So she's not feeling owned at all. I just think the young female was a little high and a little bit of jealous on how things was going. And she, she's getting her money, so now she's a little bit of confidence too. And that's normal with females in the lifestyle, to where some of them, they blow.
But he was like highly vindictive. Like if a girl went off on her own, a renegade, that's like the worst thing you could be in like the pimp hoe world, right? A renegade, a girl who goes off on her own and isn't under like management, right? like he would like.
Explain why that's the worst thing, though. Because I know she knows why that's the worst thing, but nobody's going to explain why that's the worst thing, right? We always got to bring the why behind, because that's where the education comes.
Call the cops on her and like post like flag her ads and like try and get her busted, or call another one. Like the pimps all talk to each other. It's kind of crazy. Like the real pimps, they like know each other, and so they like are like enemies but also work together. Yeah. It's a very weird culture and like dynamic. It's a wild it's wild. And like he would call like other pimps that like maybe were like guerrilla pimps, like violent pimps, to like go break on his like renegade hoe type. It was crazy. So like all of this is like, it was like very scary. And I was also using like meth, and like that didn't help.
I was also using meth. That's what I'm saying. Get to it. That's the real point. You see how she just came, she said all of that, right? And I don't know about, hey, them pimping, calling the police and flagging ads and all that. I don't know about all that. But what I'm saying is, some of what she's saying is true. And the real truth was, and she was on meth. So she doesn't know clearly what the fuck was going on.
Like I was tripping. I was in psychosis, not sleeping, and like reality and like grandiose like hallucinations were like merging into one. It was hard to tell like what was real and what wasn't real, because there was definitely some legitimate fear that I had that was like based in reality. And then there was like also, you know, the drug
enhanced.
Right. And it was also enhanced. And why was it enhanced? They ain't gonna say the meth. You know, where's Dangerous at when you need him? Where is Dangerous at when you need him? As soon as I kept hearing meth, all I could hear is about Dangerous talking about meth. That's that meth.
So you go to the hotel room. Does he ever end up finding you?
Yeah, he knows exactly where I'm at, but he doesn't have the key. And he's like driving by all the time. He like knocked on the door a few times. Yeah, he knows where I'm at, and like I end up stacking enough money and finally getting an ID, which was a nightmare to get. Like I was on drugs, so like any like task that needed to be completed is debilitating. Like getting an.
Now, do you hear her? She's saying she ran off. She's in the hotel. Pimpin' know where she at in the hotel, and she's saying she can't get things in order because of the meth. It has nothing to do with pimping. Pimping ain't making no scene. He ain't banging on her doors. He might pull up, see if she got her mind right. Like, hey, you ready? No, okay. And
I was from Massachusetts. I never had a Texas ID or license, right? So I need to get my birth certificate from the state of California. Just that. You need a debit card.
Okay. That's all we got right there, because she was about to just start rambling some more, right? And this is what they do, man. This is another way they exploit things, right? They'll get females that were participants of the lifestyle, but they went so L7 that now to create content, they have to talk as if there was a victim. But reality is, when you're with a true gentleman of the lifestyle, there's not going to really be no stories or examples of feeling or becoming a victim. And this is a prime example of one. I didn't hear nothing of her being victimized. I didn't hear nothing of her being owned. You get what I'm saying? All I heard through that was her just explaining how the structure of her folks, whoever she chose to deal with, was. And how she didn't like it and she got out of the situation. But I didn't hear nothing about owning this or owning that at all. So I don't know why they would tag that in the beginning, to get clickbait. You get what I'm saying? But they have to do that. They have to do that. Let me show y'all real quick what I'm talking about. They have to see this down here. I don't know if y'all see it. One second. You see how it says, how do you walk away when somebody literally owns life? And I don't know what they was trying to mean. And how I escaped, my pimp. It didn't sound like no escaping. It just sounded like you blew. He wasn't trying to hold you hostage. You know what I'm saying? He was not trying to hold her hostage.
She thought she knew the game.
Now she playing it away. Took her own route, now she moving day to day. No rules, no guide, she do it how she choosing. But when it get quiet and she all alone, that's a renegade illusion.